boomers, and come take invest. We'll talk about investing, finance, and professional development. For today's items only, the investment I'm going to talk today will be ETH. So it's my second posting as of today. Respect to recording time of October 4th at 1:30 p.m. on the Eastern Time. Ethereum can trade $3,365, up about 0.79% so far. With respect to overall crypto market and the equity market, we had a relatively sizable volatility earlier today with respect to the bond yield. Spiked earlier today around like the 10 a.m. mark on the Eastern Time, just like about 30 minutes after the market opened. And as that happened, despite some of the positive news that's been driving the tech stocks to go up in the more of a preliminary spectrum on Monday morning, it subsequently sold off relatively dramatically across the whole market, right? And with respect to that, currently Ethereum's currently trading at the $3,367, up about 0.87%, coming back down to earth from the $3,472 that we've tested early yesterday and subsequently sustained to early this morning before the whole crash that we saw experience across the market, right? And in addition to that, media affectation and obviously with the bond yields, let's take a look at some of the news that's been, coming out the last 6 hours so far, ever since my first posting. And I would say, the media front is definitely relatively active. So on the first one, Bitcoin is 28 minutes ago, talk about Ethereum announced up to $50,000 bounty for bugs found in the network before alt-air upgrades. So this is something that I believe Ethereum is looking for someone that has the subject matter expertise in identifying computer coding with respect to finding the bugs in the code or in this obviously in the system that they have cultivated. I'm not a computer person, nor do I know how to build an infrastructure system in a coding perspective either. But it seems like there's a bug in here, and they want to get rid of it by putting a price, reward of $50,000 for whoever that's able to find it. So if you are one of those computer genius, you're welcome to take a crack at it to find the bug that is currently, one of the hiccups that's, that the Ethereum founders or the facilitators are trying to fix at the moment. And the next one is on Decrypt's 34 minutes ago, talk about Ethereum NFT market OpenSeas hits best day in the month as crypto lows sell surge. So this is basically talk about an NFT commercialization again. Seems like there's a picture. I will say this is like two pictures. There are pictures of a toad or a frog, if you may. Both are in the beige, yellow, or I would say greenish color with like a pink background and a gray background, and these are just like JPE image or like a Tamagotchi type of image, with the frog sticking their tongue out. And it seems like there's a lot of interest. People want to buy a frog picture for obscene amount of money. So I don't know what to say about this, but we collectively just have to accept that this is the way it is. NFT is we are experiencing the craze right now. People are putting the value onto NFTs, so I guess when there's a demand for it, the price appreciates, and people are willing to pay $100,000 for a picture of a frog. Or two frogs. So I guess $200,000 for two frogs pictures. So interesting, right? The next one is on CBS News. 51 minutes ago, talk about crypto market space. Sent 90 million to users thanks to a bug. So now they want the money back. So it seems like there's a technical glitch that when there was an exchange of transaction that occurred earlier last week. 90 millions were sent accidentally to users, obviously multiple users, and with that happened, I would say it will be relatively difficult for them to recuperate that $90 million, knowing the fact that there's the decentralized encryption that's in place, but also you have to reverse engineer that that code at the same time onto multiple accounts. It seems like a huge drag. But this bug definitely needs to be fixed. $90 million is not a joke. It's a lot of money. So I guess we just have to keep an eye out on it to see how it progresses over time. And then next one is talk about Kevin O'Leary, which is the Shark Tank's Mr. Wonderful. Says that he has more crypto than gold in his portfolio at the moment. So, Kevin O'Leary, I think historically he has been more of a neutral tone in terms of how he characterized crypto. He did say something about it's a form of a safe haven, as obviously the crypto, the U.S. currency is kind of shaky at the moment. So he did say that crypto or gold is a good form of a hedge in case the market crashes, right? So it seems like with respect to his crypto portfolio, it seems like it's outgrowing more than the historical gold in part of his portfolio. So that's something that I guess Kevin O'Leary put the stamp of approval with his reputation as the Shark Tank Mr. Wonderful. Put to I guess incentivize the public world or public investors to maybe follow his footsteps to incur some risk tolerance onto crypto as well. And that's pretty much it on the news front. We have already mentioned some of the news that we've been talking about earlier today. So with the volatility that we saw earlier today, we subsequently had that like sideways jerk moment. We jerked up all the way to 3,472, jerked down all the way to at one point the 3,300, which is technically the level that we try to sustain. At the right and currently because of the sell-off, we have subsequently reversed back up to the scale of RSI of 55 out of 70. We are slowly forming a curvature as well. So is this a long duration? Is the level sustainable? I would say preliminarily, because of the fact that we're forming a curvature already, I think ideally will come back down to the 3,150, contingent on normal positive news, right? It seems like we're just oscillating on a sideways fashion, and the best world scenario would be to oscillate at the current level, bounce up and down between the 3,150, continue to do so until we deplete the RSI, and then that should subsequently deplete to the point that we will have to rally as the next catalyst. And it could be the FOMC meeting that we'll be hearing from Jerome in the next November, if you may, right? And then next one on Bitcoin, it seems like we are still sustaining the bullishness with the rebound that we incurred earlier today. This is why you see the little mini candle right here that we dipped all the way to the 46,648 earlier today and subsequent rebound, and now we are basically coming back to the close to the $49,000. On the scale right now, we're 62 out of 70, so we're relatively overbought at the moment. We are still bullish, so we're still leaping up at the moment. No signs of curvature to go down yet. So technically, if we are to leap up, we have to go up to the 50, which we are like $1,000 away. So it's not illogical, but I think by then, as we hit the 51 or 52 or 53, if you may, at the all-time high, we should be, this should trigger a sell-off subsequently, knowing the fact that we'll be extremely overbought by then. Dogecoin, we are still leaping up, which makes sense. We've been talking about this. We are on a relatively lower on the scale of RSI. At the same time, we are forming a golden cross. So I think the next leap up again, right, is the 25, which is technically the next leap up from here. Cardano up about 1.32% so far. We just formed a golden cross recently. We are relatively neutral level in terms of RSI spectrum. So I think we should technically leap up to the 238 or 240 even if the bullishness sustains. With respect to Solana, we're still selling off right now, which makes sense, right? Because of the fact that we kind of overbought at the 62 out of 70 right now. However, we are forming a golden cross at the moment. So I think for us to sustain to go up to the 195 or close to 200 would logically make sense. And then by then we'll be extremely incentivized to sell back down. So we have to watch. This is still preliminary because we just crossed recently. So I think the risk versus reward ratio is definitely high in terms of like the leap up versus the leap down. I think the likelihood of actually selling back down would be more likely, knowing the fact that this is a relatively new platform that we're forming. But when we go up there, we basically have no oxygen to sustain us, right? But I think because of the cross section we just formed recently, we should technically go to 195 very sharply and then sell back down from here. XRP, we just formed a golden cross recently again with the 51, so not too overbought, not too oversold either, but leaning more toward the upper echelon of the overbought. So I think technically as we got to the 110 earlier today, we're coming back down because obviously for the bond, from the bond yield correlations, right? So technically we should be selling back down because the sustainability that we have is not it's not we don't have a strong momentum, nor do we have any specific cows on driving this. All of the altcoins are mainly driven by the key coins that we've been that are typically the key market drivers, if you may, right? So something to be mindful of, again, right? The 110, 93, and the 88 cents would be the levels to dollar cost average at. So with respect to the market cycle, again, we're in the anger and the early inning of the depression stage. So something to be mindful of, that we will see more sideways oscillation despite how unobvious it is. But to stay within the frame of reference would be the 3,150, 2,700, 2,450, right? I think start dollar cost averaging at 3,150 will be very logical, right? And I think the market cycle should play out despite all the macro factors that we've been seeing so far. What goes up really, really fast comes down just as fast, so you have to be cautious about it, right? But if you bought at the 4,000, let's just say you did that like a month ago, just hold for a long term, because there's no reason to sell on a loss. You just have to be patient, think of the long term game. A lot can happen in a couple of weeks, and a lot can happen in a couple of years, especially. And if you believe in a long term value proposition, we should always grow up from here. So it makes no sense for you to sell on a loss unless you really need the cash flow, to buy whatever that you need to do, pay a bill, whatever, right? But there's no logical reason to do so, right? So hopefully this is helpful. It's my second update as of today. Really appreciate you for dropping by again. The volatility was definitely, gut-wrenching. I totally get it, but it's a logical move. It happens. You just have to stay within the logical frame of reference and stay, mentally sane, if you may, right? To stay positive, stay optimistic, and think long-term. And that's how you're going to cultivate that long-term wealth that you're looking for. Really appreciate you, and stay tuned for what's coming up. Take care. Bye.